Hi, welcome to the channel Budget or Review and Upgrades, and I'll say thanks to my recent subscribers, and if you see anything here you do like, please subscribe, please give a thumbs up, it really helps the channel. Now I've put some adverts in, you're going to say, why is the adverts in there, Mick? Well, this is going to help me buy some extra stuff. I'm not going to earn any fortunes here at all, trust me, it's very, very minimal, but this just helps me buy some other units, some other things that may be of interest to someone, you know, and it builds up what I'm going to have on the channel. More items the better, obviously. The more, you know, if I get 1,000 items rather than 100, it's going to help, but I'm not going to go and buy another 900 items with the money I'm earning out of it. So I do apologise for the adverts, you know, just bear with me. I'm just trying to get a little bit more money, because when I buy this stuff I usually end up selling it at a loss, and you can't keep going like that. You've got kind of a little bit of a balance, you know, just a little bit more of an income coming in. It's, trust me, it's very minimal, but it is going to help me get another 1 or 2 items during the course of the year, hopefully. Okay, so today's about MIDI, whatever you want to call them, these little Wi-Fi little units all built into one, little minute little stacks units, or whatever you want to call them really. And the idea of the channel here, you know, the idea of the channel is obviously cheap Hi-Fi at the moment, you know, a budget, people on a small budget, students, anyone really, you know, don't want to spend a lot of money looking for an Hi-Fi for their living room. It could be for their bedroom, for their computer room, for a spare room, you know, anything like that. Kids' bedroom, I mean, this is ideal for a kid's bedroom. It's very cheap, and if they start mucking it up or anything, you can pop out and get another one. It doesn't really matter, like, you know, it ain't going to cost you no fortunes really, so, you know, not bad for the kids, you know what I mean, that kind of thing. Now, Techmoan did one on the denim unit. This is what kind of thought. He said, well, that's you know, not a bad idea. He's talking about, you know, Techmoan, he's got about 1 million subscribers, over 1 million subscribers. You know, he said this is maybe the cheapest way of getting into Hi-Fi through one of these little MIDI systems, and he reviewed this denim one. I mean, you know, he didn't go into it to detail, it sounded fine, etc. And it brought back some memories of quite a few years ago now, when me and my brother had, you know, systems each downstairs. I had a big system here downstairs in the living room. I can't remember what it was, but, you know, in the corner over there, it may have been over the ice around. I don't know what it was, but we were both looking for a secondary unit for our bedrooms. I think he used to use his bedroom, and mine may have been for my computer room or utility room, kind of upstairs. I used to muck about soldering and all that kind of stuff. I just want a small system, something that ain't going to take up much of a footprint, something small, but still going to give a reasonable sound. I remember we went to our local shops, our local town, which was only a couple of miles away, should I say. And we went, it must have been here in the UK, that would have been Dixon's, Lasky's, Comet, places like that. And they would have these on a long kind of shelf, all priced up individually, and you could kind of like try them out, like, you know what I mean, take your own CD in there, etc. And have a little listen, or the shop may have had a CD for you to play. So we would go along there, obviously there would be hundreds of them, there maybe 5 or 6 or 10 of them to choose from, go around to different shops, and you may have been about 15 or 20 in total once you've got all different units in different shops. And we went along and said which one sounds the best, so we could buy one each, like, you know what I mean, that was the idea. And when we went along, we both come up with this Panasonic. We both thought this sounded good, this Panasonic. Both said exactly the same thing. And I think one of us bought it and brought it home. I can't remember which one it was. Listened to it indoors for a few days and said, yeah, it's fine. And the other one went and got the same unit as well. And it would have been expensive back then. I think roughly, I'm guessing a bit, but I think it's about 150, 180 pound. It would have been around there in the UK. So I thought, why not get that same unit back? I mean, obviously I've got rid of it since, but I thought, why not get that same unit back, that unit that me and my brother at the time thought was quite a good sounding unit, and compare it with another unit. I'll go out and get another unit off of eBay, etc. Actually, I was thinking of getting 2 or 3, but I thought one more would do anyway for definite. Compare it against that and see if that still sounded better than the other unit, you know, another make unit, like for instance this one here is a Sony. So we thought, well, I thought I'd do that. Okay, now I bought this on eBay, this particular unit. I paid a bit more than I should have done. It said without remote control, but I got in contact with the bloke who's selling it, and he eventually found the remote as well, which was handy. If you're buying any of these, make sure you get the remote. You know, it's a big plus, because without the remote you can't do some of the functions. i.e. on this one here, you can't adjust the bass and treble without the remote control. Even though it's got buttons down the bottom here, they don't do the bass and treble. And this one here hasn't got bass and treble. It's got like pop music, rock, you know, them kind of 5 settings you flick through, maybe concert, or I can't remember what they all are now, classical or something like that. And it's just got a normal flat as well. And without this remote you can't do that. Another thing it's got on here is a bass. Now this one's got like a surround kind of unit, a sound state, virtualization sound thing. You can do that with a little button here. On this particular unit it's got a bass enhancer. Oh, pardon me. And you can't do that unless you've got this remote control. It's actually called DBFB. I actually bought this without the remote. I had to go and buy the remote, and the remote cost me more than the unit. So, you know, just be a bit careful. But saying that, the unit didn't really cost me a lot. Comes to that in a minute. Yeah, so I bought this one here. I think it was £40 with postage and everything included. But on eBay at the moment, I've seen these go for about £24, £25. It's just that I wanted to get it now rather than wait. So that was that one. This one here I bought from a charity shop and I paid £12, so I got quite a good bargain there because it's got a mini disc in it as well, a cassette and a CD player, a radio in it, and an auxiliary in as well, down the line in down the bottom. And you can use the phones out if you wanted to as a line out. Just look at the back of this one, the front of here where you've got the phones out and you've got the line in there. And if you look at the back of this one here, it's got an auxiliary in, and it's also got an out on there as well, which you could plug it in. You could just use a CD player, for instance, and plug it into your normal Wi-Fi, something like that, if you really wanted to. So it's got an option here, both of them, to making them Bluetooth if you wanted to. Just get a little Bluetooth adapter, plug it into the auxiliary in here, and plug it into the auxiliary in at the back here, and press auxiliary on here, and you know, little Bluetooth adapter. You can have your phone Bluetooth or whatever you want Bluetooth up to these if you really wanted to. Now don't forget, these are old units. Bluetooth weren't about when these were about, but you can still do that. So you know, something maybe to think about. Okay, so now I've got them both. I thought, you know, obviously give a little test and give my opinion. Is it worth your while going to get one of these? Don't forget, this is not going to replace an £100 or £150 amplifier you're going to go and buy. You know, £100 pair of speakers you're going to go and buy, and an £100 CD player you're going to go and buy. You know, it's not going to be as good as them, but for, you know, how good are they for what you're paying? Don't forget, this is minimum money really. Like I say, £25–30 here, and all right, this is a little bit dear on eBay at the moment. This is about £70 including speakers. So you're paying a bit more, but a bit more versatile. Get a few more formats you can play here. But if you don't need them formats, then this is going to be a good little unit. Also, I wanted to think about these speakers. Now, these are obviously cheaply made. You know, the old unit's fairly cheaply made, but this could be the drawback of the unit. I thought was the speakers. So what I've done here, I've brought these Celestion 3 speakers into play. These are the only speakers I've got that are small. I've got bigger speakers, but I want to make it kind of fairish. A small speaker that you can go and buy on eBay for about £30, something like that. Because these come up on eBay and places like that without any speakers sometimes. Someone's found the unit in their loft, etc. They've lost the speakers, or the speakers are blown or whatever. So these should come up really cheap. I see one recently, £15, no speakers, £25, no speakers. So, you know, if you get two little units there and go and buy a pair of speakers, how would they sound? Would they sound better with a separate, you know, a different kind of pair of speakers, i.e. these Celestion speakers? Or is it best to get the speakers that go with it? Like, you know what I mean? This is another question I wanted to kind of answer. So what I've done with these units, I've played a YouTube library tracks, 2 of them, on both units, so you can listen to them both, how they sound with their own speakers, and you can listen to them with these Celestions plugged into them as well, to give you an idea, do these enhance it or make it worse? You know, it gives you an idea, but I'm going to talk about that now, but that's going to be a separate video, because I want to try and make this as short as possible. You don't want to stand here, you know, rattling through for a half hour or 3/4 of an hour listening to tracks. If you're interested in these, then by all means go and watch that video. If you're not interested in these, then you're not going to bother watching that video. So, you know, but I'm going to put it up as a separate video. Now, I'm going to start, you know, with their own speakers, how they sounded. So if we go over, let's just flick this over somewhere where I am. We're going to start off with this little Sony wire. Like I say, it's not a bad little unit. It looks quite nice, quite smart. The only thing I would say is this is quite shiny. This, you can probably see the light and everything reflecting on it, and fingerprints, so it's a fingerprint magnet and all that kind of thing. So it's a bit. But other than that, it's got the mini disc. I tested the mini disc. It sounded fine, and the tape sounds okay. But you know, everything I'm going to review is going to be via the CD. I played the same CDs on both units. Here's the CD player on this one. It's quite a little. Panasonic seem to do on these little units. Seem to do something, you know, a little bit, not say special, but a little bit different for the CDs. Always a little gimmicky kind of thing, sliding drawer, something like that slides to one side. You know, they seem to do little things like that. And this one here just comes out. Sorry. Just as normal there, like, you know what I mean. Okay, so how did this sound? Now this is with these Sony speakers, so we're going to have a little look at these Sony speakers. Now these are cheaply made. You can see these are cheaply made. There's the bass unit, there's the tweet, all made by Sony, and there's no padding at all inside, no wadding or padding, anything like that. And just one capacitor is the little crossover unit they use there. So that's the speaker. Like I say, it's cheap. It's not bad, a little bit of weight to it really, I suppose. Mainly that bass driver, like that main driver with the weight, but fairly cheaply made, like, you know what I mean. And this pretty much summed up this, not summed up the unit, summed up the sound. You know, the sound of this was let down by these speakers, you know what I mean. So what I would say before I start, if you've got these speakers in this unit, maybe take them apart like I did and put a bit of padding in there. Try and get rid of that kind of little bit of a boxy sound, that hollow sound. It may help them. I can't see it doing it. I haven't tried it myself, but I can't see it making it any worse. I would have thought, you know, I would have thought it's going to make it better. But yeah, so let's go over to how these sound. The bass sounded a bit boomy, I thought, on these. Could do with more definition to it, the bass. It was okay, a bit boomy, like, you know what I mean? No real definition. Hollow, you know, sounded hollow kind of sound, echoey, boxy kind of sound on these. A little bit mid-rangey, really. The mids were fine, the vocals are fine, they're okay, nothing fantastic. But, you know, don't forget what we're paying here. You know, I'm kind of like bringing my expectations down a little bit. Can't compare this, like say, a £300 system. You're going to go and buy second-hand Sensu and the other stuff I've got on my channel. Have a look, all bits and pieces I review. Not going to be as good as that, but they're going to be okay. You know what I mean? This is, I kind of got to kind of level it out of that price bracket and what you're getting here. So, you know, overall, this is kind of overall. But it sounded okay. The vocals sounded fine. You know what I mean? Top end wasn't too bad. Could do more detail. A bit mushy. Well, you know, fair bit mushy to be honest with you in places. Just like a bit crisper, a bit tighter, a bit, you know, a bit more controlled, a little bit more there. It was okay, like the mid-range. These give a bigger sound because they're a bigger speaker. They're going to give a bigger sound than this unit here with a smaller speaker. It's a bigger sound, but it's a bit dull. It wasn't very exciting, the sound, I didn't think. It was a bit get on your nerves kind of sound after a while, you know what I mean? I weren't really enjoying it, so to speak. It was okay, but you know when you get into a sound sometimes you think, oh yeah, boom, 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 you're getting into it and you're kind of feeling it kind of thing and you think that sounds nice, that sounds sweet, you know what I mean? I could, nicer, I'm enjoying this. Not really so much with this, I don't think, you know what I mean? I kind of got fed up with it a bit, especially when I flipped over to this one here and thought, oh, well, this is the one you've got to listen to, you know what I mean? Oh, it's a, you know what I mean? But don't forget what you're getting an extra cassette here, you're getting the mini disc as well here. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to put these speakers on it, and you know, that's going to make a little bit of a difference. Well, it's going to make quite a bit of a difference, to be honest with you. But anyway, let's go over this Panasonic next. The top end here was a little bit on the bright side, the Panasonic, a little bit on the bright side, a little bit mushy still, but you know, bearable, you know what I mean? A lot more bearable than the Sony one. It sounded better than the Sony one. The bass was nice, you know what I mean? The bass was nice, it's a small speaker, but the bass was nice, it was quite punchy, it was quite tight, it sounded quite nice, you know what I mean? For a small speaker, I thought it sounded pretty good, the bass on here. It had a more rounded kind of, you know, even though it's tight, it had a more rounded, it had a more, a richer kind of sounding speaker, this, like, you know what I mean? A fuller sounding speaker. It was more alive, this speaker. This speaker is more alive. The vocals sounded nicer, they sounded smoother than they did. They sounded more natural than they did on that Sony, with that Sony speakers. Yeah, all in all, it had more detail as well. It's a much more pleasant sound, you know what I mean? It's a sound you can, you know, flick between the two. It's chalk and cheese here, really. You know, it really is. It sounded a lot better, like, you know, I'm not saying it sounded like, you know, a good HiFi system, don't get me wrong, but it had quite a nice, pleasant sound, something you could have in the background or you could turn up or whatever, and you could listen to it for quite a long time, like, you know what I mean? You wouldn't really get fed up with it. It's quite a nice sounding unit, like, you know what I mean? Like, don't forget, take it in context of what it is, how small it is, and for what you're going to pay for this, you're going to go and get this on eBay for about 30 quid, something like that. That's a good £30 well spent, I think, you know, for a little system here. You're not going to be disappointed for £30, trust me. You'll get a nice little system there for £30, £40. You really, I mean, I paid 40. It's a nice system. It's already been sold. Someone wants this. My mate's been round. It was after a system, and the other one I'm giving away to someone else. But he's come round and he's going to pay me the £40 for this. People, like, I sent him on eBay. They're 30. You can get for 30. He said, no, I have that one. That's the one. He's going to give me. So I haven't lost on this. This is an item that I've bought and I'm not lost on, believe it or not. But yeah, so that's sold. That is, you know what I mean? He liked it that much. And like I say, me and my brother, then many years ago, I don't think we was wrong, you know what I mean? It was years ago now, we went out and looked for these things, and we weren't wrong for what we've, don't forget, for what we're paying, for what it was at the time and everything, and for what it is now. It's not a bad little system, £30 or £40, it's a nice sounding little system, it's compact, it's got quite a few things going for it really, like for what it is. Now, what we did do, and my mate's taking these speakers, by the way, he's keeping these little speakers, he's happy enough with them, even though I said he could buy these off me and go with it as well. He weren't really that interested in that. He hasn't got a lot of money, to be honest. I felt a bit guilty charging him 40 quid for it, but he was happy enough, and you know, it's going to get me to go and get something else. But these speakers for an extra £30, like I say, if you're going to go and get one of these, if you see these about, not got the speakers with it, you're going to get them £20 cheaper straight away. So these speakers cost you a tenner, or maybe £20 tops. Makes a massive difference. It makes a massive difference. You know what I mean? It makes a. I want to put a video up with these playing, a separate video, so you can go and listen to that. If you know, like I say, if you're interested in this, and hopefully you're going to hear the difference there. But it makes a massive difference on this unit here. It makes it, you know, it makes it sound a lot better. Like that hollowness, that boxiness has gone. It's got more of a fuller sound. It just sounds better. Like, it brings it more to life. You know what I mean? It makes a quite a big difference to this Sony, you know, it makes it more pleasant, and now you're going to start listening to it, you know, now you've bought an item that you're going to listen to rather than you've kind of had enough of kind of thing. Still makes a difference here, but you know, on the scale, it's not as big as difference as this, because these speakers ain't bad, you know what I mean? For what they are, they're not bad, you're not fantastic, don't get me wrong, but they're not bad for what they are, they're quite nice. And this improves it even more, like, you know what I mean, makes it more richer, makes it more fuller. It's got, the vocals are more clear, they're more fluid. It's just overall, it's a better, you know, nicer sound, a better sound stage, it's more controlled. It just brings it up a level, like, you know what I mean, it really does. So yeah, I mean, like I say, it's not top hi-fi, don't get me wrong, but it just makes a big difference. So like, you know, I think the moral of this story is, if you can get one of these without the speakers, then go and get yourself a little pair of speakers to go with it. Look at the reviews of other people, different sets of speakers, etc. A cheap pair, £30, something like that, and you're going to make a good little system, make a vast improvement. But the speakers that come with this Panasonic, even though they're cheaply made, etc., they're not a bad sounding. They've got them quite matched nicely, and they're a lot better than these Sony ones that come with this Sony unit. You know what I mean? If you've got, so if you've got this Sony unit, you may be happy with the sound, but you know, trust me, get rid of these, or put some foam, or do something else. Try and help them out a bit. Because if you go and get another set of speakers, you're going to get a much better sound. You're going to think, oh, you know, that's much better. Like, you know, you really are. I can only go by the unit I've got in front of me, and the tracks and stuff I've played in this room here. It's all played in this room downstairs here. So what I would say with the Sony, it's not a bad unit if you kind of get rid of the speakers. If you've got the speakers, if you're buying this unit for £80, £70, £80, not unless you really want that mini disc and you really need that cassette player, I wouldn't be paying that. I'd go for this little unit here. It's small, that's going to take up less space height-wise. It's got less going for it, like I say, you know, versatility. You can't, you know, you can probably get a mini disc player and plug it in, or something else, you know, like a portable mini disc player, you know, whatever. Plug it in if you really need the mini disc. But you can play like a Bluetooth or another auxiliary source into it. It's a much better sounding unit, it really is. The speakers obviously making a vast difference here, the speakers you get with it compared to the ones that come with a Sony, that really does help it. But all in all, you know, with this connected, these Celestial ditters connected to this Celestial ditters connected to this still gives a better sound. Even though it improved that quite a bit, this just outshone it a little bit, you know what I mean? Even though it's less wattage, it just, you know, just gives a more detailed, a little bit more better sound, I think, you know what I mean? So that's my advice there. That's my kind of review of both these units, is that, you know, for what you're going to pay for it, so don't go mad and pay 200 quid for these kind of items, because then you would be better off going and getting some separate HiFis, you know, separate unit HiFi units, etc. But for small money, £20 and £30 and £40 maybe, that kind of area, these are not bad little units to get. Like I say, depending what you want, if you really need a mini disc player, then you're probably going to have to go for something like this. And maybe, you know, you may buy a denim, you may buy another unit, but maybe thinking about changing them speakers, no matter what unit you buy really, Yamaha or any little unit or whatever, you may be thinking, maybe I should like change them speakers, get a cheap set of speakers, £20 or £30 off of eBay, you know, one of these Celestions or something like that, and seeing how they sound. And I think you'll be surprised, you know, if that little bit more of an outlay, you're going to bring up the sound nicely, you know, much better than what it is. Especially these got no padding or nothing in it. You know, the crossover's very weak. And these units drive these speaker fine. You know what I mean? There's no problem, it drives the speaker fine. So that's it really. Until the next video, I'll say thanks for watching, and I'll see you all soon.